What do you do when you've broken every record, defeated every legend, and become the greatest lightweight champion in UFC history? If you're Islam Makhachev, you run, not to chase greatness, but to escape it. January 2025, Islam breaks Khabib's legendary title defense record. 5 months later, he abandons his belt and flees to welterweight. The reason? One fighter, one name, Ilia Topuria. And what happened next will change how you see legacy forever. But first, you need to understand just how dominant Islam really was. January 18, 2025, UFC 311. Islam Makhachev submits Renato Moicano in the first round, securing his 4th consecutive lightweight title defense, breaking the record held by Khabib, Benson Henderson, and Penn. No lightweight champion in UFC history had ever done this. 5 total title fight wins, a 15-fight win streak, records that seemed untouchable. He'd already dismantled the sport's biggest names. Charles Oliveira submitted. Alexander Volkanovski defeated twice. Dustin Poirier dominated. Islam wasn't just winning, he was erasing legacies. His striking accuracy sat at 59.5%, the highest in lightweight history. His grappling was suffocating. The Dagestani system, perfected under Khabib's shadow, seemed unbeatable. And then, in May 2025, when Belal Muhammad lost the welterweight title to Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 315, Islam did something no one saw coming. He vacated the lightweight belt. Immediately, no hesitation. He was moving up to welterweight. The timing of this decision would reveal everything. Because there was one fighter Islam refused to acknowledge. October 2024. Months before Islam's record-breaking victory, Ilia Topuria called him out on Instagram Live. "He talks too much," Topuria said, daring Islam to settle it in the octagon in 2025. Islam's response? Ominous. If Topuria keeps acting like that, something may happen. But nothing happened. Islam's hand injury, a partial ligament tear from June 2024, kept him out, conveniently. The injury disappeared just in time for the Moicano fight in January, but reappeared every time Topuria's name came up. Topuria wasn't backing down. After knocking out Max Holloway in October 2024, the first knockout loss of Holloway's career, Topuria made his intentions clear. Islam was next. The Georgian-Spanish fighter had vacated his featherweight title, moving up to lightweight specifically to hunt Makhachev. He wasn't cutting 35 pounds anymore, only 25. More weight meant more power, and Topuria's power was already terrifying. But what made Topuria so dangerous that a champion would literally abandon his throne? Here's what Islam knew. Topuria walks around at 180 pounds naturally. That's bigger than Alexander Volkanovski, the fighter who nearly beat Islam at UFC 284, despite Islam's visible size advantage. Judges scored it 48-47, 48-47, 49-46 for Makhachev, but many thought Volkanovski won. After the fight, Islam admitted, "I thought it was going to be easy on the ground. But this guy improved a lot." Now imagine facing someone bigger, stronger, and more powerful than Volkanovski, with even deadlier skills. Ilia Topuria isn't just a knockout artist. He's a Greco-Roman wrestler who started training at age 7 in Georgia, chasing Olympic dreams before switching to MMA. His grappling base is elite. 8 submission wins early in his career, including triangle chokes, rear nakeds, and guillotines. Fight analysts noted that wrestling was actually a major base for him, but it remains untested at the highest level because he's been knocking everyone out before it gets there. Then there's his striking. Topuria taught himself by watching Canelo Alvarez YouTube videos, studying Mexican boxing, and forcing his trainers to hold mitts for Canelo-style combinations. Merab Dvalishvili confirmed, Ilia learned how to punch from Canelo, he's copying his style. The technical breakdown reveals why it works. Tremendous elastic energy, explosive hip rotation, and a Mexican shell guard that makes him almost impossible to hit cleanly. The results? Topuria knocked out Alexander Volkanovski in round 2 at UFC 298. He knocked out Max Holloway in round 3 at UFC 308. And in June 2025, he knocked out Charles Oliveira in round 1 at UFC 317 in just 2 minutes and 27 seconds to win the vacant lightweight title Islam had abandoned. 3 consecutive knockout victories over UFC champions and legends. A perfect 17-0 record. Never lost a single round in his professional career. 48% striking accuracy, 64% strike defense, 10 first-round finishes, 7 by knockout. When asked about moving to lightweight, Topuria said simply, "More pounds, more power." And if you think that's scary, wait until you hear what Topuria said about Dagestani fighters. On the Full Send podcast, Topuria exposed what he believes is a fatal flaw. None of them possess exceptional cardio or stamina. When you observe their fights, they aim to assert dominance from the very first exchange. They build confidence by thinking, "I can control you. However, when they realize it's not going their way, they often falter. Time and again, they end up losing those competitive fights. Islam's entire game plan relies on being bigger, stronger, and overwhelming opponents with grappling from the first exchange. But Topuria is naturally bigger. His wrestling credentials match Islam's. His takedown defense is elite, and one mistake, one clean punch, means lights out. Islam knew he couldn't bully Topuria with size. He couldn't out-wrestle him, and he definitely couldn't survive his power. So he did the only thing left: he ran. UFC analyst Chael Sonnen didn't mince words. Islam did everything you could imagine to evade that match. He took every conceivable step to avoid fighting Ilia, including vacating the division and abandoning the title. There is no stronger action in our sport to distance oneself from a fighter than to leave the division and relinquish the championship. Even Arman Tsarukyan accused Makhachev of deliberately avoiding Topuria to escape criticism. Islam's manager Ali Abdelaziz, the controversial power broker behind Khabib, Belal, and dozens of top fighters, claimed they would have fought Topuria if Belal kept the title. Topuria called it nonsense. The timeline didn't lie. Ali had maneuvered Islam into a carefully chosen welterweight matchup against Jack Della Maddalena instead. Not the dangerous Topuria fight, a winnable fight. Legacy protection over greatness. July 2025. After Topuria knocked out Charles Oliveira and claimed the lightweight title, he dethroned Islam Makhachev as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Islam held that ranking while actively ducking Topuria, then lost it the moment Topuria proved himself at lightweight. Topuria took Islam's throne without ever fighting him. He captured the belt Islam vacated. He knocked out the same opponents Islam had faced, but more impressively. The student became the master while the master ran to another division. Islam broke every record, defeated every legend of the past generation, and then abandoned his throne the moment the future arrived. He preserved his undefeated at lightweight legacy by refusing to defend it against the one fighter who could destroy it. The question that will haunt Islam Makhachev forever: why did the greatest lightweight of all time vacate his belt the moment the most dangerous opponent showed up? The evidence is undeniable. Islam Makhachev is terrified of Ilia Topuria. But Islam isn't the only champion accused of running from a fight. One UFC legend turned down the biggest payday of his career because he knew what would happen if he stepped in the cage, and what the cameras captured backstage revealed the real reason why.